So today I'm going to show you how to make some delicious, homemade, soft, and crunchy dinner rolls. Mmm. The ingredients you will need are some yeast. You can either get it in the jar form like this, or simply in the packet form like this. I prefer the packets because there's no measurement involved. You just take one packet at a time. You will need some water, some salt, sugar, and of course a whole lot of flour. So the first step is to proof the yeast. Since yeast is a living fungus, it needs food and it needs a good environment to live in. So we start out by taking about a cup and a half of water. Mix with about 3 tablespoons of sugar. And because yeast like warm environments, I'm going to heat this up a little bit. Not to the point where it's too hot, just about 20 seconds in the microwave should be fine. And now I have some, lukewarm water. Not too hot to the touch, but that's what yeast want. So I'm going to cut open 1 packet of yeast. Quick rise or the traditional kind, they're both fine. I'm using quick rise though, doesn't really make a difference. Then you just want to add a little bit of flour to give it some body. Mix this up and let it sit for about 10 minutes. Okay, it's been about 10 minutes and you should start to see small bubbles forming. That's the yeast consuming the sugar and producing carbon dioxide. Now we just want to add the rest of our ingredients. I'm going to start by adding a little bit of vegetable oil. It makes kneading it a lot easier and gives the bread a smoother texture. And also about a good handful of salt. I'd say about 2 teaspoons. Just for flavor. Okay, now we're about ready to add in the rest of our flour. So you want to add about half a cup at a time of flour. Completely mix it all in before adding the next half cup. So just stir it in. This takes a while, so be patient. Okay, so after about a couple minutes of kneading, you're going to get into a dough stage, and now you need to work with your hands. So we start out by flouring a cutting board so it doesn't stick. Also, make sure you wash and dry your hands very well, or else the flour will stick. So you can move the dough to the cutting board, and you're going to start by kneading it, which I'll show you how. So don't need the spoon anymore. You just want to start by working with it. Make sure it all comes together. It shouldn't be sticky at this point. If it is, which kind of mine is a little bit right now, just add a little bit of flour. You just kind of want to pack it together at first to make sure it's one solid unit. Alright, so we're going to start the kneading process. So what you do is you want to smush out your dough. You want to fold it in one direction, push down, and turn 90 degrees. So once again, stretch out, fold, push, and turn 90 degrees. Eventually it's going to get a little harder to work with, so you might want to use your forearms a little bit. Now, what this does is it's going to stimulate the gluten in the flour, which is a protein. That protein gives the dough a lot of elasticity, which is what we want when making, bread or pizza. Now, if you were making a cake or a muffin, you do not want to overmix your dough because then you get really, really tough cake. But because we're making bread and pizza dough, you want to have some strength and some elasticity to it. Alright, so after about 10 minutes of kneading, you just want to set it up so it can rest for a bit. So what you do is you you start from one point and you pull all the dough into the opposite direction. So it has a nice smooth surface. So I'm going to pull everything together to the bottom. Okay? To the point you can slap it a little bit. Now you're going to put it back into the bowl. So now we're going to cover up with, paper towel. Let it stand there for about an hour or two, or until it doubles in size. So what this does is it gives a chance for the proteins to work and makes the dough nice and elastic, as well as the yeast to develop and give it a nice flavor. So as you can see, it grew way larger. So the majority of this is still air. So the first thing we want to do is just want to pop it down. So just take your fist and just punch it down. You should hear bubbles popping. Now I just want to roll it back together. Into a tight dough. Now we can work with this. Since this is a big dough, we're only going to use half of it for our recipe. So I'm going to cut it in half first. I'll save this one for my pizza recipe, which you'll see right here. And we're going to start making dinner rolls. So obviously, if I wanted to make one large loaf of bread, I would just start folding it like this, and then making a slit on top. That would be, one large loaf, but we're making smaller dinner rolls. So I'm just gonna roll it together, cut it in half. Take each half, roll it, and cut this in half. Now as you can see, you see all these larger bubbles? This is all from that 2 hours of proofing. So the point of kneading it is to make it kind of not round, but to have some texture, so when it bakes it looks kind of puffy. Now I'm just going to put them on a greased baking tray. And bake at 400 degrees for about 15-20 minutes, or until they turn nice and golden brown. So after about 20 minutes, you have these delicious golden brown, fluffy dinner rolls. I like mine. If you just cut inside, you can see that hard crust, nice and soft on the inside. Oh, look at that. Put a little butter on mine. Voila. Look at that. Nice, fluffy, fresh dinner rolls. Mmm. Delicious.